Good morning. Thank you all for joining me. We'll get started in just a moment as we clear the waiting room. As a reminder, as you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you very much. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly if you will be providing testimony before the board this morning. I'll call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I'll then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. We'll begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, 94 Shirley Street Boss LLC, located at 94 Shirley Street in Roxbury. Date of the incident, October 3rd, 2025. Indecent assault and battery, employer on employee, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Morning. My name is Riley Andrews.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. And your relationship to the licensee?
I am a director of operations for the company who operates the LLC.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher can read it in. I was under the impression that the officer was going to be here. The detective, however, is in court.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. I do not see the officer, so thank you for reading that in for us. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. If you could please read the report into the record for the board.
Yes, we'll be reading the Boston Police Incident Report that was authored by Officer Kenny Abel. About 1:45 a.m. on Friday, 10/3/25, Officer Abel and the Bravo 436 responded to a radio call for a sexual assault report at 94 Shirley Street. Upon arrival, officers spoke to the 911 caller who works at 94 Shirley Street, which is a food restaurant that has over 20 kitchens, private companies. The victim identified the suspect as the owner of the restaurant, El Sonce, in room number 124, whose name is Luis Trency Funes. The victim states that he was talking to the suspect to how he wants to open up a business in the future, in which the suspect began asking him to send him $100 via Cash App. The victim stated that he was not sure why the victim wanted to send him $100, but the suspect insisted and gave the suspect his Cash App, to which the suspect sent $100. The victim stated that he tried to hug the suspect, Luis Atunce Funes, to thank him for sending the $100. The suspect reached his open hand down and grabbed his dick. The victim stated that he was able to push the suspect off him. The suspect then stated the incident happened at about 12:57 a.m. on today's date. The victim denied the need for medical attention. The incident took place near a camera in the main lobby. Officer was notified that the suspect had already left the scene. The Bravo 913 Sergeant Durbin notified, in which he also notified Sergeant Detective DeVito. The second report is authored by Detective Michael Miller. At about 9:18 p.m. on Friday, 10/3/25, Detectives Miller and O'Laughlin conducted a licensed premise inspection at the Roxbury's Newmarket Food Hub located at 94 Shirley Street in Roxbury. As a result of the incident, indecent assault and battery that occurred at about 1:45 a.m. on Friday, 10/3/25, Sergeant DeVito instructed Detectives Miller and O'Laughlin to conduct a licensed premise inspection of the Roxbury's Newmarket Food Hub and issue a violation for the indecent assault and battery, which occurred between an employer and the employee earlier that day. Detectives Miller and O'Laughlin walked into the area of Roxbury's Newmarket Food Hub, which was accessible to the public, and were unable to locate any of the licenses or permits in plain view. Detective Miller and O'Laughlin were brought to the back of the business by employee area, business which there was a health permit hanging on the wall. Detectives Miller and O'Laughlin were then brought back to a room where a board with 2 additional permits was sitting on a desk. It should be noted that the board appeared to be broken. Roxbury's Newmarket Food Hub was issued a violation for the indecent assault and battery occurred, and there were about 1:45 a.m. on Friday, 10/3/25. Detectives Miller and O'Laughlin observed the permits and appeared to be in order. However, they, as previously noted, they were not posted in a conspicuous area. These violations were noted on citation number 044185. Copy of citation 044185, which contained the above listed violations, was left with Jasmine Tejada, who was the person in charge of the business at the time of the licensed premise inspection. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Ms. Andrews, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your time. So the first piece I'd like to address is there seems to be just a slight misunderstanding in regards to the sexual assault being perpetrated by someone at our company holding the LLC. So our business functions more like an apartment building, and each of the individual licensees hold their own licenses for each of the individual kitchens within our space. The sexual assault was perpetrated by one of those licensees. They have been terminated by their employer, and we took all appropriate actions to remove them from the premises. They are no longer permitted, and we obviously, as a company, have a zero tolerance policy for that type of behavior, but they don't work for us. So just want to make sure we're clear that they are not working for us. They are not a part of our company. They do not belong under our LLC. They were an employee of a business that was operating within our facility, and they are no longer allowed on premises. Are there any questions I can answer on that piece before I address the permit?
Yes, what is your LLC's relationship? Do you have a management agreement with each of these, tenants?
Yes, ma'am. So we have what is called a kitchen services agreement, which does include a code of conduct, property rules. All of these things are signed in a legally binding agreement, very similar to a lease, but it is a licensing agreement, so they don't have exactly the same rules as a tenant. But this is very, very much covered under the agreement rules, that there is a zero tolerance policy for this type of behavior. And each individual operating space not only holds their own licenses with the city, their health permits, et cetera, but they also have their own license kitchen services agreement with us.
Okay, I might have more questions after.
No
You can
problem.
continue.
So in terms of the permit, we are aware that the permit was not posted. The board had broken, bad timing for us. And so it was being placed on a desk nearby with all of our permits on it. So we have since rehung the board, the new board with the health permits, the business license, and our certificate of allergen awareness, all of the things that are necessary for us to operate the building. And it is posted in a conspicuous, obvious area within our building. I do have pictures if anyone would like to see where they are posted, but we have remedied that piece of the concern.
Okay, is that all you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions then from the board. Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
Yes, so how long did this tenant, how long had they been operating under your license?
My recollection is they had previously been operating with us for about 8 months at the time of the incident. We had no previous altercations or incidents with this particular employee. As soon as this was reported to us, we started, obviously, we supported our employee in terms of filing the police report. And then we opened an internal investigation with a third party employee relations company that we employ. They then immediately banned the perpetrator from the facility until the investigation was concluded. So within 24 hours of this being us being notified, this person was no longer allowed on premises. And once we did the investigation, which took just a few days, and interviewing all appropriate parties with our employee relations team and investigation team, this person was terminated and has not been on property since.
Okay, one second. Let's just see. So this is a different type of license. It's a CV license in your company's name, right?
Yes, ma'am. We operate the building.
Okay. And there's 26 vendor spaces that share the lobby.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first, I'd like you to share with us by email your internal report. And tell me, so the hours of operation here are till what time? 2 a.m. Everyone out by 2:30?
Yes, ma'am. Currently.
So how do you manage that?
We have staff on site until that time to make sure that everybody is closed. So the person who was assaulted is one of those employees with us in terms of, we call them runners or shift leads within our business but they're essentially there to ensure not only that the business is operating in terms of food going from kitchens into the hands of delivery drivers and other customers. However, they are also responsible for ensuring that, everything's locked up at the end of the night.
Okay. My concern here is that this is one license in your name, and what happens under that license goes back to your entity. I don't think you can fully disconnect yourself and say that it's just a management agreement.
Okay.
That's my opinion. So if you could send the internal reports and let us know what you did following this incident as far as discipline and retraining staff, and is this tenant still operating there?
The tenant is operating, but that employee has been terminated.
Okay. So who does the termination, you or the operator?
The operator would do the termination as they are employing that person individually.
Okay.
We operate a number of these facilities, and it is always a little bit tricky because we're a newer concept to try and sort of explain how this all works. My understanding in other locations that we operate under a general business license to hold the food safety for the facility. So we are responsible for understanding that we have multiple businesses that are operating individually with their own licenses. So each of those businesses also has their own business and health permit.
They don't have a license between us. You're before us. You're the only entity that we have a license with. So ultimately, any sort of incident that happens at this property is your responsibility. So that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for distinguishing that at the beginning, that they have their own food permits. But as far as if this was an issue and we were seeing that there was a violation, it would be on 94 Shirley Street, Boss LLC. Just so you're aware how we see it.
Okay.
We do have other similarly situated places in the city, and ultimately you hold the CV, you hold the license, and you're responsible for everything that happens under that license.
Understood. Happy to share all of the documentation, the investigation, and what actions were taken on a timeline, as well as to provide you with any documentation around what our licensees agree to in terms of ownership of responsibility, zero tolerance policies, and general property rules of engagement.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
No questions, just to state that I'm seeing it the same way the chair is seeing it. So just want to state that.
Yes, I would be curious to see the management agreement and if there are any like code of conduct clauses in there. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement as requested. Please do forward over the internal reports, the timeline you referenced, and the internal policies and management agreements between the licensee and the vendor at the center of this incident. You can forward that directly to licensingboard@boston.gov, and we'll make sure that it is shared with the commissioners when received. Thank you. With that, we will move on to item number 2 on this morning's agenda, calling Cantina Hospitality LLC, doing business as Taco Bell Cantina, located at 1222 Commonwealth Ave in Alston, date of the incident October 11th, 2025. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9. No ISD posted in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Secretary Green, Chairman Joyce, Commissioners. Tom Miller from McDermott, Quilty, Miller, and Hanley here on behalf of the licensee. I'm joined today by Jim Rooney, Arturo Escalante, Israel Vega, and Rose Lehman from the licensee.
Thank you very much. I don't know that I see all of those individuals. So if you are going to be testifying this morning, please do make sure you're on camera so we can swear you in. While I'm waiting for that to happen, I'll ask who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department.
Sergeant Detective Gallagher can read it. Officer Jenkins wrote the initial report if you see him on online.
Thank you. Officer Jenkins, if you are with us, if you could please come on camera and introduce yourself to the board so we can swear you in. Looks like it is you, Sergeant Hector Gallagher.
Okay.
Can all of those who are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Can those from the licensee who are planning to testify please raise your right hand? Attorney Miller, do you know who will be testifying on behalf of the licensee?
I believe Israel Vega and Jim Rooney may chime in, but the majority of what you're going to be hearing today is me.
Great. Mr. Vega or Mr. Rooney, if you are planning on testifying, if you could please raise your right hand. Otherwise, thank you, Mr. Rooney. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. If you could please read the report to the record of the board.
Yes, I'll be reading the Boston Police incident report that was authored by Officer Chris Jenkins. At about 10:44 p.m. on Saturday, 10/11/25, Officer Jenkins Inuka, assigned to the Kilo 104, responded to a radio call for assault and battery at Commonwealth Avenue and Harvard Avenue, Brighton, the Taco Bell. Upon arrival, officers observed the victim inside of Taco Bell, who was later identified as Ayaz Choudhury, had a blood on the back of his jacket and a small cut in his lip. Choudhury had stated to officers that he was waiting in line when he was seen giving the suspect a certain face gesture due to the ignorance of the suspect. Choudhury continues to state to officers that the suspect had approached him and asked him how old he was. Choudhury had told him he was 17 years old, but told the officer that he had lied to the suspect, and in fact, he's 27 years old. The victim continued to listen to the music through his headphones, try to avoid speaking to the suspect. Choudhury stated to officers that when the suspect just swung at him 5 or 6 times and then fled the scene. Officer asked Choudhury if he wanted to request EMS, him to be treated. Choudhury had declined the request. Suspect described as a black male, about 30, with 2 gold nose piercings, was wearing gray shorts. Officers canvassed the area for the suspect to no avail. Body-worn cameras were activated. Second report is my report. Myself and Detective Hernandez followed up on this. On 10/29/2025 at about 10:15, Sergeant Detective Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to licensed premise unit, responded to Taco Bell at 1222 Commonwealth Avenue to speak with staff about assault and battery that occurred inside the premise on 10/11/25, 10:15 p.m. The altercation was between 2 patrons. Spoke to the manager, Miss Alejandra Mercedes, over the phone. Miss Mercedes stated that she was not working that evening, but there was video that she would try to retrieve forward to the detectives. As a result of what had occurred, Sergeant Gallagher issued licensed premise inspection notice number 021278 to Taco Bell Cantina for assault and battery, patron on patron. In addition, detectives were unable to locate a current inspectional service certificate. Copy of the notice and a business card was left for Miss Mercedes. That's all we have.
Thank you very much. Attorney Miller, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, I know you weren't present for the first incident, but when you returned to the establishment, was the staff cooperative with you during your interaction with them?
Yes, sir, they were.
Thank you, Sergeant. Nothing more right now. Since the incident, it's my understanding that the video was locatable. The video was located, and my understanding is it was provided to BPD. If that has not happened or has been lost in the shuffle, we are happy to provide it further. As additionally, the ISD certificate has been provided to the board as well. That was just it was misplaced that night. We've confirmed it is up now and hanging currently in the establishment. As for the incident, the inciting incident itself, it was regrettable, but also unfortunately unforeseeable for the licensee. This incident escalated from what appeared to be a close conversation to an unfortunate, unwanted physical assault within less than 10 seconds, with the suspect then leaving the establishment less than 10 seconds after that. Immediately after the incident, the shift leader was notified and came out to check on Mr. Chowdhury. As she approached him, she realized and checked in on him. Mr. Chowdhury had already initiated the call to 911. The staff here, the licensee here trains their staff and has policies and procedures in place to respond to incidents and de-escalate situations. All staff receives training when they're onboarded, and all managers and shift leaders receive further training again before they start their role. They become internally certified in de-escalation policies and procedures. All managers who receive de-escalation training in situations like this, they also receive training on when to call the police. What incident is an appropriate time to call the police and what incident isn't. Unwanted physical contact always requires a call. In this instance, it would have been redundant as soon as the manager was notified and she was able to come out and speak with him, very shortly after the incident, the police are already called. This incident, unfortunately escalated. It was between two people who were apparently speaking very close. The video of the incident shows them speaking very closely, nothing overtly threatening or posturing between the two. And then transitioned very quickly to physical contact, and then the suspect leaving the establishment very quickly afterwards. There was no time for the staff to step in and de-escalate the situation or to notify the manager to do the same. And there was no imminent indication that violence was close. Since the incident, the licensee has reiterated the importance of conflict resolution and de-escalation to their staff, when to involve a manager, and when to call the police. At this point, I will be happy to answer any questions from the board and address any comments you may have.
Thank you very much. We will see if there are any questions at this time. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thanks, Attorney Miller. Is that the video that you have, is that shareable?
Yes, I will share it with the board.
Okay, that would be great. That's really all I'm interested in, just to see how long this took.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was the timeline. I mean, literally, it was less than 20 seconds from its start to the suspect being out the door. So it was very quick. In total, the suspect was only in the restaurant for less than 5 minutes. And they were only in the restaurant together for less than 3.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Does the video have the suspect entering the restaurant?
It does.
Okay, I'll wait for the video. Thank you.
No additional questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Please do forward the video when you are able, and I'll share it with the commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 3, Facility Concession Services, LLC, doing business as Spectrum, located at 89 Guest Street in Brighton. Date of the incident, August 28th, 2025, assault and battery, patrons on police officer, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13D, and assault and battery, patrons on employee, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Green, Kristen Scanlon for the licensee. Also signed on with us today are Damian Healy, who is the GM and manager of record of the entertainment license, Michael McCurry, who's the GM and manager of record of the liquor license for the licensed premises, Haz Ibrahim, who's the director of the 5280 security group, Jason Davies, who's also a security supervisor, and Samel or Melly Feliz, who is security staff on that evening as well.
Thank you very much. I do see all 5 individuals, so thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department? Sergeant Detective Gallagher, are you still with us, or is the reporting officer on item number 3 with us this morning to testify? See Detective Hernandez. Oh, sorry, you're on mute currently.
Sorry about that. Detective Hernandez, I can read it into the record if nobody's available.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with first-hand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. If you could please read the report into the record for the board.
Good morning. I'm going to be reading a report written by Officer Martinez at about 10:02 p.m. on August 28th, 2025. Officer Martinez, while assigned to the Kilo 424 prank, responded to a radio call for assault in progress at 89 Guest Street in Brighton. On arrival, Officer Martinez observed a male later identified as suspect number 2, Jonas Gomez, on the floor crying. Officer Martinez also observed a female later identified as suspect number 1, Acacia Gomez, to be distraught and yelling at security. Officer Martinez spoke to security, who stated that their co-worker / the victim, Dahlia Knapp, was inside of the building with EMS. Officer Martinez proceeded to the inside of the building and observed the victim to be bleeding from her right eye. Officer Martinez asked the victim what she was hit with, to which she responded, a heel, by the victim that was removed by security. Officer Martinez informed the arriving officers about the incident. Officer Martinez was made aware by suspect 2 that suspect 1 was his twin sister, and he was out celebrating their birthday, and they were removed by security. Suspect 2 reported that security had physically removed them from the building, citing a need for self-defense. Officer Martinez observed suspect 2 to have cuts on his elbow, to which the suspect declined medical attention. Suspect 1 was placed under arrest for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon with a heel. Officer Martinez explained to suspect 2 that his sister was being placed under arrest and he needed to get a ride home. Officer Martinez observed suspect 2 walk away from the scene. Moments later, Officer Martinez heard yelling coming from the front of the establishment. Officer Martinez observed suspect 2 trying to force his way into the building while pushing and charging at several security members. Officer Martinez requested additional units to respond to the location via Channel 5. Officer Martinez briefly succeeded in separating the individual from security. Suspect 2 successfully shoved Officer Martinez's arm away. The suspect continued to resist by tensing his arms, pulling away, and ultimately squaring his body at Officer Martinez while saying, "Oh, hell no," and pushing his arms up in the air. Officer Martinez attempted to place the suspect under arrest. In anticipation of the suspect's imminent assault, Officer Martinez grasped the suspect's arm, which the suspect managed to release himself from. To secure the suspect's cooperation, Officer Martinez struck the suspect in the abdominal region 3 times to effect the arrest. Officers Healy and Wandomo ultimately responded to assist Officer Martinez in placing the suspect in custody without further incident. Officer Martinez spoke to Mr. Jason Davies, security supervisor, who stated that he and his security team were punched and assaulted by the suspects when they were asked to leave. Mr. Davies stated he was removing suspect 2 for underage drinking. Mr. Davies stated that both parties began by pushing the staff. Mr. Davies stated that suspect 1, Acacia Gomez, removed her heel and struck his security officer, the victim, Dahlia Knapp, in the right eye. Suspect 1, Acacia Gomez, was placed under arrest for the following charges: assault and battery with a dangerous weapon to with heel, Suspect 2 is placed under arrest and will be charged with the following: disorderly conduct, assault and battery on a police officer, resisting arrest. The Kilo 916 Sergeant Gould and Kilo 915 Sergeant Schmidt responded to follow up on a Code 35 violation, and a supplemental will follow. Officer Martinez was transported to Boston Medical Center, Brighton, for treatment. Both the EMS, A14, Fano and Wong responded and transported the victim to Mass Eye Hospital. Officers confiscated the suspect's left and right heels, which will be logged into D14 evidence control log, page 94. And then the following units responded and assisted: Kilo 202, the Kilo 102, Kilo 104. Body worn cameras activated in both and recorded both incidents. I believe that is all that I have here.
That is all that we have as well. Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Please. Some questions for you, Detective Hernandez, although I know you weren't there and this was authored by Officer Martinez, but just to confirm a few things that were indicated in the report. You indicated that Officer Martinez responded to a radio call for an assault in progress, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this call, to your knowledge, came from the licensed premises?
I don't know if that's,
If you know.
I don't know if that's here in the report, ma'am.
Okay. Upon arrival, Officer Martinez was directed to the victim, who he learned was a female member of the licensed premises staff, Ms. Knapp, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, she was bleeding above her right eye.
Yes.
This particular incident had two suspects involved, one named Acacia Gomez, date of birth August 7th, 2002, and two Jonas Gomez, date of birth October 29th, 2003, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And to confirm, Officer Martinez learned Ms. Knapp's injury was caused by suspect number 1, Ms. Gomez, throwing a heel at her.
That's what the report states, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. To confirm as well, upon arrival, it indicates Officer Martinez observed suspect 1's behavior where she was yelling at members of the licensed premises security team.
That's what the report, ma'am.
And shortly after that, suspect 1 was placed under arrest for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, according to the
Yes,
report. And Officer Martinez then explained, according to the report, to suspect number 2, Mr. Gomez, that his sister was being arrested and he needed to get a ride home, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, the report also indicates at this point in time, Mr. Gomez left but came back shortly thereafter, and he was observed yelling and trying to force his way back into the building, charging at several security members.
Yes, ma'am.
And at this point in time, additional units were requested by Officer Martinez to assist, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Martinez attempted to contain suspect number 2, Mr. Gomez, but he resisted both verbally and physically, according to Officer Martinez's account, correct?
That's correct.
And Officer Martinez indicated that the suspect squared his body to him as if to welcome a fight, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Gomez was ultimately arrested as well for disorderly conduct, assault and battery, and a police officer and resisting arrest, according to the report, correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Following the arrests of both suspects, it indicates Officer Martinez spoke to Mr. Davies, who is the security supervisor, who informed Officer Martinez that members of his security team were pushed, punched, and assaulted by the suspect when they were asked to leave, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And also, according to this report, under offense number 1, shortly after the narrative section, it indicates that there was no suspected alcohol consumption or that alcohol was a contributing factor, correct?
I don't know that. I wasn't there, ma'am, no.
Is the box on the report marked no?
Where are we looking at, ma'am?
Sorry, under offense -1, which is listed shortly under the narrative section on page 3 of 7 of the report.
Yes, ma'am.
And in that same,
I see her again. Yep, I see it. There's it's checked no there, ma'am.
Thank you. And right next to there, it says suspected drug use, and the box for no is also checked, correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And to your, I know you don't have personal knowledge, but according to the report, staff was cooperative at all times with officers while they were on scene.
It appears so from the report. It does, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Detective. I appreciate that. No further questions at this time. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may call Melly Feliz, who's security staff, to testify, and also mention prior to starting her testimony, we did submit to the board an additional statement by another security team member who was involved and has direct personal knowledge of this event, but was unable to attend this morning's hearing. We submitted that this morning to the board once he signed that. But Ms. Feliz, can you please state your name for the record?
Hello, everyone. My name is Samel Feliz.
And what is your place of employment and title there?
I am a supervisor for Tarian Company.
And where are you employed via Tarian Company?
Various places, but mostly at Roadrunner.
And were you working on the evening of August 28th, 2025?
I sure was.
How were you first alerted to the incident that ultimately unfolded with the male and female suspect as discussed in the police report?
I was alerted by a radio call, and the radio call was from Pat, which was the other person that also did the testified. I was called by Pat for a female roamer to the scene, just for backup to be involved because it was a female patriot.
And that's standard procedure for security if there's a female involved that requires security assistance to call another female security officer?
Absolutely, when there's a male. Yep.
Thank you. When you arrived on scene to where Pat called you, what were your observations?
My observations were that the female was really upset, throwing out slurs, angry, yelling, was basically upset that we threw her drinks out, that they were being escorted out of the venue.
What, if anything, did you do at that point to assist?
Well, at that point, because the female was getting aggressive or physical with Pat, I basically just became a body, a shield between her and Pat as we were escorting them out.
What was she doing, or what were your observations that she was attempting to do towards the other security officer?
She was reaching over me. Again, she was yelling, screaming, swearing, absolutely horrible slurs. So, yeah.
And how many other security members approximately, if you know, were involved in escorting the suspects out of the premises?
Approximately, I will say about 6 or 7, because I was basically I was assisting the female, but her brother was also being escorted out, so there was about 6 or 7 of us.
Okay, and Delia Knapp was one of the security members?
Yeah, Dahlia was. She was behind me. She was, yep.
And at what point did you observe the assault on Ms. Knapp?
So I was face to face with suspect 1, which was Acacia Gomes. I was face to face as we was going from the lobby area into the vestibule right before exiting the venue. So as we was going into the vestibule, I'm facing the suspect number 1 and escorting her out, letting her know that she has to go. I see her physically taking off her shoe and flinging it over my head. I was not aware that anybody was hit. My focus was basically getting her out of the venue. I
Okay,
noticed it after.
Thank you. And last question, to your knowledge, were there any issues with these particular patrons upon arrival?
I did notice them come in. I'm usually at the doors of the venues. I am queen of the front. But I did notice them come in. The female was a little bit rowdy, but other than that, it was a very typical Thursday night, very high high energy concert. So
Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, as indicated in the police report, this particular call came from the licensed premises. It was placed by Security Supervisor Jason Davies, who's also here this morning, should the board have any questions for him regarding that. This particular evening was a performer known as David, or D4VD, who was performing. He is an alternative indie style music. And at approximately 9:45 p.m., the staff started receiving some complaints that these particular two suspects were eliciting a bit of unruly behavior that wasn't really fitting the environment. Like they were more at a metal and dance party for what was otherwise more of a mellower show. At that time, they were on the floor, house right side of the balcony. At that time, staff also honed in on them, and after some observation, approached them. One staff noticed that they were bothering other people, potentially showing signs of erratic behavior or intoxication. We don't know if it was from alcohol or other substances or even mental illness. Staff then made the decision, as they do from time to time, to not serve the male patron in particular any alcoholic drinks. As is policy of the licensee, there are many reasons staff may choose to use their discretion to refuse service to any patron. They do recognize that when people come to shows at their venue, they spend a lot of money on concert tickets, so they aren't necessarily trying to end or ruin their night, but are not nonetheless aiming to operate responsibly. So they don't want to jump to an immediate ejection if they don't have to, and if it's not warranted, but rather basically say to the patron, please stay and enjoy the show, but you won't be consuming alcohol anymore. In this case, we do have a record which was submitted to the board of serving one round of drinks to these two patrons that particular evening. When security approached them, they essentially told them they needed to settle down a bit and made the judgment call per procedure to pull their wristbands, which of course the wristband otherwise indicates they're legally allowed to consume alcohol. Later, and as you heard in testimony and from statements submitted to the board, a little while later, staff observed the male suspect consuming alcohol again, which was passed off to him by the female suspect. They continued, obviously, to keep eyes on them once they had given them the warning to make sure they complied, as they do. They didn't. They saw behavior elicited that they had verbally prohibited, and the second response was to eject them from the building. Both were combative, as you heard from testimony. Multiple guards responded, but it was relatively uneventful in the sense of extreme non-compliance until they reached the exit of the premises. The male temporarily acquiesced, but the female continued to grow increasingly aggressive as they were being escorted from the building. On video, which was preserved and submitted in detail to BPD as part of their investigation and the criminal charges pending regarding this matter, at one point you can see the female suspect take off her shoes and have them in her hand. And right as she gets to the door, she swings the shoe that hits the female security guard, Ms. Knapp, in the eye. Of note, Ms. Knapp was called in order to de-escalate the scene, similarly to Ms. Feliz, as she explained, to assist to remove the patron. But at this point, she had not exchanged words with the female suspect when she, without warning, struck her in her face, which required a visit to the hospital with punctures to her upper and lower eyelid and temporary loss of vision from this unprovoked attack. Both guests were outside by the time police arrived after the call was placed from the licensed premises. And as you heard in the police report, both suspects were placed under arrest for assault and battery with deadly weapon, disorderly conduct, assault and battery on a police officer, and resisting arrest. We have no knowledge at this point of whether they were under the influence of any substances, but for the two drinks served to them inside the premises, the facts lend themselves really to the fact that there were two unruly people that didn't care about anyone in a position of authority. In this particular instance, staff did everything they should have done from a licensing compliance perspective, and it wasn't foreseeable that upon asking patrons to leave due to violating direct rules that were verbally issued to them, that they would assault a member of staff as well as a responding police officer. Again, as I indicated, staff further cooperated by providing all video footage to the police for their review and preservation as it relates to the criminal charges against the suspects, which Mr. Healy can certainly testify to based on his communications with the police regarding this incident. And at this point, we're certainly happy to answer any questions or address any concerns the board might have.
Thank you very much. We'll see if there are any questions at this time, beginning with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you, and apologies if you repeated this or said this earlier. What time did these two people arrive at the venue? Do you know?
Damien, do you have the arrival time handy for the two of them?
I do not have the arrival time handy, no.
Because I'm looking at the statement of Patrick Sterling. It says he started observing them a little after 9. So I was just wondering how long they had been there before they started acting erratic. Had they purchased drinks before that?
We can look at the video again and review that just to confirm what time they entered the video or entered the premises and get back to you.
Okay. One more second. So this receipt, the 3191, whose receipt is that?
That was the receipt of Acacia Gomez, I believe, and Michael McCurry can confirm that.
Yes, that was hers. That was the one transaction that we had from her.
From her, okay. But it sounds like from the security guard's report, he had also made purchases too?
He had also made purchases according to Pat Sterling. He didn't know how many purchases, but he saw them drinking. He didn't see them purchasing.
Okay. If you could just do a quick search for that as well.
We did, just to confirm, we did search for any purchases by Jonas Gomez, and none were found.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Commissioner Carino, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
None from me either. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, then the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you very much. Calling item number 4, same licensee, Facility Concession Services LLC, doing business as Spectrum at 89 Guest Street. Date of the incident, October 7th, 2025. No accurate count for each level. In violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Overcrowding the mosh pit with 3 injured in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. And over-intoxicated underage patrons in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Attorney Scanlon, will it be the same witnesses for this item?
Same, but just to confirm, Mr. Healy, Mr. McCurry, Mr. Ibrahim, Mr. Davies. And Melly's, you're good to go. Thanks.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Hernandez, I can read it if nobody's here for the this one also.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? All of these witnesses have been previously sworn in. That being said, Detective Hernandez, could you please read the report into the record for the board?
Good morning, sir. Again, I'll be reading a report authored by Officer Agato. On 9/7 p.m. on Tuesday, 10/7/2025, Officer Morgado while assigned to a paid detail, responded to a radio call for a sick assist at 89 Guest Street, Roadrunner, Boston. Also assigned to the paid detail, Officers Pimentel and Segura, and D14 units also responded. There was a huge list of people that responded to this call. I'm going to skip right through the actual narrative. BPD Channel 5 dispatcher assigned the Kilo 102 Frank to a radio call for a sick assist. Multiple calls for patrons passing out inside the venue. At that moment, officers assigned to the detail did not have any information from staff about the incident. Officers were made aware that the crowd was concentrated in the front of the stage, pushing against the barriers. Officers were informed by security manager Jason Davies and general manager Healy that the crowd was requested multiple times via speakers to step back away from the barriers due to the fact that people were being pressed against the barriers and getting hurt, to which the crowd did not comply. Officers were informed that at the time about 15 victims were evaluated by Sharon Safety Group. The venue hired their own EMT staff, and Boston EMS services were not needed. No victims transported to the hospital. Officer Morgado was able to obtain the information of the following victims. There's a list of victims here. All victims complaining that they were nauseous, lightheaded, overheated, and vomiting. The victims did not inform the officer directly about alcohol consumption, but Sharon staff informed that the victims informed that they consumed alcohol. Officer Morgado was informed by Fire Chief Moran that at the moment of the incident, 3,190 patrons were inside the venue. Maximum capacity, 3,490. The Kilo 814 completed a Code 35 license premise inspection notice 007501 signed by Healy and copy provided, body worn, camera activated. There is a supplemental here, report attached. I had about 22:05 hours on Tuesday, 10/7/2025. Detective Lechevich, Kilo 814 Haran, Kilo 826 at the direction of Sergeant Detective Salucci, Kilo 980 conducted a Code 35 of Roadrunner nightclub in relation to a sick assist incident. Detectives were also notified by District Chief Moran from the Boston Fire Department about head count violations as the establishment did not maintain accurate count for each level, which was restricted by license to a set number of patrons at each level and only maintained total number of patrons inside the building. District Chief Moran notified Detective Lechevich that it appeared most patrons were on one level, which appeared to be well over capacity. It should be noted total count was 3,190 inside the building and maximum capacity being 3,439, and each level allowed approximately 1,100 to 1,200 patrons. Detectives Lechevich issued violation notice 007502 for no accurate count on each level, reported by District Chief Moran. 3 patrons injured in overcrowded mosh pit incident and 2 underage patrons dehydrated due to intoxication. Violation was signed by Damian Healy, who was polite and cooperative with detectives. Copy of violation was provided to him. Thanks. That looks to be it.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the incident?
Please, and some questions again for you, Detective Hernandez. I know you weren't personally there and just reading it in, but wanting to confirm a few things via the report. So Officer Margotto is working a paid detail inside the venue on the night in question, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it indicates that at approximately 9:07 p.m., Officer Margotto responded to a radio call for a sick assist.
Yes.
If you know this, Detective Hernandez, members of the Boston Police Department are working paid detail inside licensed premises. They're in regular contact or contact as needed with staff about any incidents requiring or that may require police assistance, correct?
Yes, that's usually how it works, yes.
On this particular evening, in addition, and if you know, in addition to the BPD paid detail inside the premises, which Officer Margotto was a part of, I think it indicates Boston Fire Detail and EMS Detail were also on site, correct? Prior to the additional units responding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As a practical matter, if while you're working a detail at a licensed premises, again, if you know, and there's an emergency with a patron or patrons requiring assistance, it's customary that the BPD detail are notified by staff and our management, correct?
Correct.
And prior to the additional units' arrival that evening, Officer Margotto doesn't indicate anywhere in the report that he was aware of any instance requiring police assistance, correct?
Well, it says, yes, that they did not have any information from staff about any of the incidents, so they were,
Okay.
they didn't know about any of this.
Thank you. Regarding the part of the report where it was alleged that multiple calls for patrons were passing out inside the venue, we have no information in Officer Margotto's report about or knowledge regarding how many calls were placed, correct?
Correct.
Or how many individuals potentially placed calls?
No, we have no knowledge of that, ma'am.
Thanks. At one point, it appears Officer Margotto was made aware that the crowd was concentrated in front of the stage, pushing against the barriers, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
At any point in Officer Margotto's report, did he indicate he observed people dancing in a violent manner in front of the stage?
It's not in this report, ma'am.
And at any point in the report, does it indicate if he observed people jumping up and down or deliberately colliding with others in front of the stage?
I don't see that in this report, ma'am.
And at any point in the report, did Officer Margotto indicate that he witnessed a dedicated area in front of the stage for crowd surfing or any of the behavior I just inquired about?
See that in this report either.
Pardon?
No, I don't see that in this report either, no.
Thank you. The report indicates that 15 people were evaluated by the on-site EMS team, correct?
There were people evaluated, yes. There was a group of people there, yes.
And to confirm, there's no statement by Officer Margotto that anyone was transported to the hospital that evening, correct?
No, there was nobody. It doesn't say there was anybody transported there.
And to confirm, it doesn't say that any injuries were reported that evening, only ailments or symptoms such as nausea, lightheadedness, overheated, and vomiting, correct? On page 2.
Well, I do have on the supplemental that looks to be, it says that there were 3 patrons injured in the overcrowding mosh pit incident and 2 underage patrons were dehydrated. That was on the supplemental report, so I from that night.
Okay. That was from the supplemental, but Officer Margotto didn't indicate any of that in his report, correct?
In his report, correct, ma'am.
And in Officer Margotto's report, there's no information or evidence as it relates to any of the named 4 victims regarding alcohol consumption, correct? Only that EMS staff informed that they may have, or that they consumed alcohol?
They just, on this report, it says 2 underage patrons dehydrated due to intoxication. I don't have any further, ma'am.
Okay. On Officer Margotto's report, it only indicates that people consumed alcohol and not that they were intoxicated, correct?
Yes, just alcohol consumption. I don't have anything on that, ma'am.
And Officer Margotto doesn't indicate in his report any information regarding service of alcohol by the licensee to any of the individuals rendered aid by on-site EMS, correct?
Detective
Maybe
Hernandez,
repeat the question.
you're still with us?
I'm sorry. Was there a question? I might be having some issues here. I apologize.
Oh, sorry, Detective. In Officer Margotto's report, there's no indication or knowledge or acknowledgement of any service of alcohol by the licensed premises to any of the individuals rendered aid by EMS on site, correct?
That's correct, ma'am. Sorry about that. I might have some audio issues here. I apologize.
No worries. And lastly, there's nothing in the report to indicate that staff was anything but cooperative at all times, correct?
That is correct, man. It appears that they were very cooperative.
Thanks very much, Detective. Thanks for bearing with me through those, as I know you didn't have personal knowledge of that. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may call Damian Healy to testify. Please state your name for the record.
Damian Healy,
And what's your place of employment and position there?
Roadrunner. I'm the general manager.
How long have you worked there?
May of 2024.
And were you working the evening of October 7th, 2025?
I was.
Who was the performer that evening?
Two Hollies was the headliner.
And what genre of music is that?
It's kind of a pop, hip hop artist.
What, prior to that evening and with this artist booking, what was the anticipated demographic of the show that would attend?
We were expecting a much younger crowd, predominantly under 21 and under 18.
What was your head count ultimately that evening?
We had 31, 81 in the building that night.
And your overall capacity is what?
34, 39.
And how many staff did you have on that evening?
We had 35 security guards, 15 front of house, 20 22 bar staff, and as well as 6 facility staff, 4 EMS, and the 2 fire detail and the police detail that we ordered.
And can you generally provide a timeline of events that evening from doors opening to the headliner going on and anything in between?
Sure. Doors opened up at 7 o'clock. Majority of the crowd was online. The opener, Romulus, the first opener was on at 8 p.m. with a very short set. The second was Nate Stibb at 8:20. They came off the stage around 8:40, 8:45. During the intermission, at about 8:50, we recognized that there was some pushing at the front of the barricade area, and we began to use the voice of God and have to ask guests to step away from the barricade, head up to the balcony where there was plenty of space. There was also still plenty of space toward the back of the room as well on the bar levels and to the house left area of the pit or floor. Around 9 o'clock, 9:10, 9:07 would correlate. We got information that the NYPD and the Boston PD and Boston Fire Department had arrived.
Damian, can I just back you up before we get into that? And can you just
Sure.
explain for the record what voice of God is, just so?
Certainly. We had voice God is what we use to explain when we're making announcements from the PA system to the entire crowd.
And when you initially used that tactic, when you recognized there was a compression issue towards the front of the stage, were concert goers compliant with those requests?
Some of the crowd did start to move away from the front of the stage and utilize the balcony. We also closed off the floor area or the pit area using security for people to come back in. So once they have left the floor area, you could not get back in to the floor area at that time.
And how many times, if you recall, did you use that tactic with the voice of God?
That was used repeatedly. I'd say it was used at least 3 times before the police and fire department arrived, and then it was used throughout the time that I was walking around with the Boston Fire Department as they checked licenses and exits and egress areas.
So you were handling the compression issue prior to the additional units responding on site?
Correct.
For the record, does the premises have any designated area in front of the stage for a mosh pit or mosh pit-like activity?
No designated area, no.
And was there any issue of concert goers eliciting behavior that one would find in a mosh pit, violently shoving one another, crowd surfing,
No,
deliberately running into one another, anything like that?
no.
If that type of behavior was observed, how would the venue handle that patron or patrons?
Generally, we'd have security would spot it using one of our spotters and send roamers into it to break up any physical altercations.
You mentioned BPD detail was ordered and on site that evening.
Correct.
And how do you determine what type of detail you request from BPD?
We base off of the nature of the act, the tickets sold. We order at least a tier 2 for every event we're open for every show we're open for. For this show, we had ordered a tier 1 because we knew it would be a very full show with a younger crowd. And we wanted to make sure we were prepared.
And similarly, is EMS detail on site for every show?
Yes, generally we'll have 2 on. We did double it for the show because of the nature of the show.
And what about Boston Fire Department detail?
We do have a detail on for every show that we have, period.
How and when were you first made aware? I know you indicated previously that the additional units from the PD, Fire Department, and EMS units had arrived. How were you first initially made aware of that?
Of the arrival of radio
Yes.
call. I was called to the front to meet with PD and Fire Department.
Had you or any other member of your staff called them?
No,
Why not?
there wasn't a need at that point.
What happened once the additional units arrived?
We held the show and we cooperated with all the requests for PD and Fire Department.
Was there a delay in the headliner that evening?
Yes, there was.
What time did they ultimately go on?
About 10:15. They were scheduled to go on at 9:20.
And when they went on at 10:15, did you have the all clear from all units, whether it was BFD, BPD, on site to proceed with the show?
Yes, at that point we were dealing directly with Boston Fire Department and the nightlife division. Which I'd walked around the venue and presented all license requested, etc.
How did the rest of the evening pan out once the headliner was on?
Once the headliner went on, he performed uninterrupted till the end of the show, which is about an hour, 10 minutes. No further incidents. Show ran smoothly.
To your knowledge, were any concert goers evaluated by the on-site EMS teams that evening?
Excuse me, say that again?
To your knowledge, were any concert goers evaluated by your on-site EMS team that evening?
Yes.
Approximately how many?
15 total.
Do you know or have any knowledge of what they were evaluated for?
Generally, it would be anxiety, overheating, nausea, dehydration.
And to your knowledge, were any of these evaluations for underage drinking or intoxication or over-intoxication?
Not that I was made aware of.
After people were evaluated, if you know, did they remain for the show or were they ejected for any reason?
No, they remained.
Any knowledge of anyone passing out?
Just via what was explained to me from EMS.
Do you know how many people?
One person, I believe.
Okay. At any point, and was that related, sorry, that one person, was that related to your knowledge to any alcohol consumption or intoxication?
No.
At any point in time during the period where the crowd was pushing to the front of the stage, and based on your experience in the industry, was the staff, did the staff have it under control so that they didn't need to require an emergency response?
Yes.
And at any point in time during the period that the crowd was pushing to the front of the stage, and based on your experience and real-time knowledge of the events as you were there that evening at the premises, were there Any medical emergencies that were not being immediately assessed by on-site emergency personnel and staff?
No.
Thank you very much. No further questions for Mr. Healy at this time. If I may also call Haz Ibrahim, who is the director of the 5280 group, the security team employed at the venue. Haz, if you could state your name for the record.
Hazem Ibrahim.
Sorry for the mispronunciation. What is your place of employment and position there?
I'm the director for the 5280 Protection Group.
And how long have you been employed there?
Since 2014.
Can you give us a general understanding of your experience in this particular industry as it relates to security for entertainment venues?
27 years working security, 24 of them being in management.
And how many shows in that time and how many venues do you think you've managed for security?
I mean, it's just last year alone, my team and I managed over 2,000 events, including 3 Two Hollis shows, as well as consulting services, large-scale music festivals, and we do touring security, both personal and venue, for several worldwide touring acts.
Thank you. On the evening of October 7th, how many of your security staff were on duty at the Roadrunner?
There's 35 guards on that night.
And to your knowledge, how did staff become aware that there was a compression issue, as Mr. Healy explained, at the front of the stage?
Combination of several things, staff in the barricades, spotters, management, it all kind of came together at once.
And how is a team under your management generally instructed to handle situations of compaction or compression with crowds?
The industry standard procedures and best practices currently is it's having spotters in place to watch the crowd and having very strong show stop procedures. So if a show is happening, we all know, the events of Houston that brought this to light. If there's any sort of compression issues, the show has to stop. In this case, it was the show was already stopped, and there was compression in anticipation of the headliner going on. And if there's music, you stop it, and if there's no music, you don't start until there's announcements made to loosen up the crowd. Generally, as Damien stated, it is a voice of God, which is a general crowd announcement that everybody can hear over the PA system. At larger scale venues, there's usually video support that gets done in tandem, or large scale music festivals. Usually this venue of this size doesn't have the video support. So we do just several crowd announcements. Security at the back of the room. Obviously you can't pull the people from the front and tell them to move back with people behind them. So it's just security at the back, loosening up the crowd, not letting anybody else into the affected area. And you just keep moving them back, and nothing starts till the crowd is satisfactory. With the capacity, and not just the capacity of the given area, the capacity of the crowd pack. So basically, you just do not put any music on, do not give them any reason to sway, surge, or whatever originally caused those compaction issues.
Thanks very much for that explanation. In this instance, were those best practices that you just described, to your knowledge, part of the procedure that evening to successfully de-escalate the brief issue that was happening at the front of the stage?
They were, and it was not brief. Show was scheduled to go on at 9:20, and the show did not go on until 10:15. So we were at it for quite a while getting that crowd, and we were holding the headliner like we should have.
The holding was also due to the additional units arriving and inspecting the premises too, as well, correct?
Yeah, they were in tandem with each other, but we weren't going with the show.
Thanks very much. No further questions at this time, Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may. As an initial matter, and as you heard, this type of show has a bit of a younger demographic and following, and we'll state outright that these are somewhat the types of crowds that in their experience as entertainment operators, they see concert goers being a little less than self-aware and cognizant about personal space. And for many, often a first-time concert goer. But to provide some logistical information at first, the capacity for this particular premises, as Mr. Healy testified, is for 3,439 people. The floor capacity itself is approximately 1,917, and the balcony 1,522 patrons. This particular evening had a head count of under capacity, a total of 3,181. You did hear how many staff and security members were employed that evening overall throughout the venue, as well as a Tier 1 BPD detail on site, which they request again for all events, as well as Boston Fire detail that's there for all events, and EMS detail that's paid detail and there for all events. I want to take each of the 3 alleged violations in order for the sake of an organized and streamlined discussion, if I may. As of the first count, which is no accurate count for each level, essentially the licensee does admit to this and has put mitigation measures in place. Truthfully, they did not have a precise count at the time in question, although they certainly had, as I just indicated, a head count for the whole building that was well under the maximum occupancy amount allowed in the building, but they contend that they also did not have an overcrowding issue on the floor, but as previously explained and you heard in testimony, a compression or compaction issue. At the time in question, again, the entire building's occupancy was several hundred under total capacity. Nevertheless, since this show, they have implemented new technology known as Talify, which is one of the better and more robust capacity counters out there. That manages capacity, and it's essentially a tech solution for syncing real-time count data across large venues with multiple points of entry. So for in this instance, for up and down in the balcony, what they generally did beforehand is take the number from the balcony and back that number out, so they had an accurate count of what was on the floor, which was not over based on the general numbers they had on the floor, but this technology makes it much easier with a clicking system of all points leading upstairs so that they can count in real time and know in real time the exact number of patrons going up to the balcony and leaving, so that they'll always maintain an accurate count. So based on this system, they can regulate how many people are downstairs so that they can push people upstairs if and when needed. Damien can certainly speak to this, I think, a little bit more intelligently and accordingly if the board has any questions regarding that. As to the second count, 3 patrons injured in an overcrowded mosh pit incident. We did submit video to the board, including one in particular, which is the house left bar video. This is from the main pit part of the floor, and when you review that video, you can clearly see here there's plenty of room on the floor, and it's, again, more a case of compaction and not overcrowding. As you heard from testimony of both staff and in the BPD report, there are 0 reports of injuries. They did have complaints of symptoms and ailments of overheating, which was largely overheating and was promptly, professionally, and adequately being addressed in real time, as reported by concert goers, by both staff and on-site EMS detail, which the licensee, again, has for every single show that they book at the premises. Secondly, and as was also supported by testimony, the categorization of a mosh pit at the licensed premises is just simply inherently false. No such thing exists, and if behavior was observed lending itself to that, it would most definitely and promptly result in stopping it immediately. Lastly, as to the third count of 2 underage patrons dehydrated due to over-intoxication, we have, first and foremost, no evidence of service, over-service, or consumption of any particular patrons or any individuals whatsoever, let alone to underage individuals. There's been no information or evidence testified to or supporting that fact in either the initial report or supplemental report. And equally, we have no knowledge of what potentially was served, consumed, and where by these unknown individuals. There's also an inconsistency with the initial and supplemental report, where there's a blanket reference to 2 underage patrons dehydrated due to intoxication, but yet no evidence or mention of that in the initial report or subsequent testimony heard today or evidence presented today. Regarding the incident as a whole, one of the primary goals and purposes of requesting all forms of detail, which the licensee does at every show, and with BPD, BFD, and EMS, of course, is public safety, but also, and for every show, one of the primary reasons is so if any of those services, emergency services, are needed for this place with a larger crowd, that regular emergency services are not clogged up with calls from the premises or otherwise taking away resources from people who really need it. The fact in this case here is that nobody quite knows who placed calls, or as it was categorized, multiple calls. We don't know if it was one caller that called a couple of times, 2 callers that called 1 time each, 3 callers a single time. The licensee certainly appreciates the immediate response based on information that was provided at the time, and of course regrets that it had to come to that. But as you heard as well, BPD detail on site was a little caught off guard by the response too, because they weren't aware of any situation lending itself to requiring an emergency response and from additional units that were already on site. In this instance, we're certainly not denying there was a compression issue, but pursuant to all safeguards and procedures that they have in place, as you heard, that was being adequately handled and addressed, and announcements were being made, and a pause and show started before any additional units showed up, which demonstrates the licensee was addressing the issues shortly before, again, the additional units arrived. Were there some issues? Yes. Was it out of control? No. It was a younger crowd, and they were managing it pursuant to their best practices and procedures that they had in place, and were handling it appropriately under the circumstances. That being said, I know this was a little lengthy, and I appreciate the time, but wanted to be clear based on the several allegations that are lodged against the licensee, and take it one by one, and we're all here to answer any questions the board might have regarding the matter.
Thank you, Attorney Scanlon. And just briefly before we move to questions from the board to address the videos you submitted, they have been received, where they are each over 4 hours long. They have not finished uploading yet. So commissioners, that's why you don't have them. As soon as they are uploaded, I will make sure that you are aware of that and they're in the folder. Moving to questions now, starting with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. I think Mr. Ibrahim answered all the questions I had regarding what you do, what your policy is if no one complies with sort of the, I guess he called it the compression. At this time, I don't have any questions.
No questions for me. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
If there are no questions from the board at this time, then the board will take this under advisement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, Big House LLC, doing business as Basement, located at 100 Stewart Street. Date of the incident, May 25th, 2025. Failure to call 911 for intoxicated patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14b. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Kristen Scanlon for the licensee.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. We've got 2 more. Slowing down a little. Bora Akaktan, who is the general manager of the licensed premises, as well as Charlie Kane, who is the director of security.
Thank you very much. I do see both. Who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am again Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much, Detective Hernandez. If you could please read the report to the record for the board.
Good morning. I'm going to read a police report, which I wrote on Saturday, June 7, 2025. Shine Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD licensed unit, responded to the basement to speak to staff regarding an incident that occurred on May 25th, 2025. Into the morning of May 26, 2025, the possible drink spiking incident came in to the attention of the Boston Police Department by way of reports authored by Watertown Police Department, incident 25-12821 OF. Detectives spoke to person in charge, Mr. Bugra Akten, who stated that he was made aware of the allegations made in the report. Detectives explained to Mr. Akten that they had received surveillance video that showed what appeared to be a patron inside the nightclub, the patron drinking multiple alcoholic beverages, patron exiting their establishment in a wheelchair. The video also shows what appears to be staff assisting the patron into an Uber. Detectives confirmed through the police dispatch system that no call for an ambulance was placed by any staff member. As a result, what detectives became aware of, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premises inspection notice 022023 for failure to call 911 for intoxicated patron. Mr. Atem signed for and accepted the notice. That's all.
Thank you very much. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Just a few questions for Detective Hernandez, please.
Yes.
Detective, as an initial matter, you first learned of this incident when you were contacted by the Watertown Police Department, correct?
That's correct.
And following communication with the Watertown Police Department and receipt of their, or presumably receipt of their department's report, you reached out to Mr. Kane, who's Director of Security for the licensed premises?
I did.
And did Mr. Kane cooperate fully with all your questions and requests as it relates to available evidence, including video footage pertaining to this investigation?
Yes, ma'am. He did very quickly. He was able to provide me video right away, and we were able to see the whole incident as it had transpired. Very cooperative.
Thank you. Throughout the investigation and your review, there was no evidence discovered of drink tampering, correct?
No, ma'am.
And to your knowledge, the suspect female did not go to the hospital, correct?
It doesn't appear that she did. No, it does not.
And to your knowledge or any information from the Watertown PD, no toxicology was performed, if you know?
Yes, I believe there was a toxicology performed there.
There was.
Yes.
Was there any evidence of drink tampering?
No, ma'am.
That would lend itself to drink tampering. Okay, thank you.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You didn't learn from Watertown PD or have any personal knowledge or known information regarding the subject female's whereabouts prior to her arrival at the licensed premises that evening, correct?
Ma'am, she had been drinking. Prior to coming there.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of where she was?
No, ma'am.
And any knowledge of any substances she may have consumed at any point before, during her, or after her visit to the licensed premises?
It appears that she hadn't been, ma'am, no.
Okay, thank you very much, Detective. No further questions at this time.
No.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may call Mr. Bora Akten to testify. Bora, can you state your name for the record? Probably to correct us all too. Sorry, say that again.
Burak Aktan.
And where are you employed?
I am employed at Basement Nightclub, as also known on Big House LLC on this hearing.
And what is your title as it relates to your employment there?
I'm the general manager.
How long have you been in that position? How long have you been in that position?
I have been on that position since February of 2025.
How long have you worked for the company?
I'm going into my 10th year.
Okay. And what is your previous work experience prior to being employed with the company?
I held multiple positions from operations manager, assistant general manager, production manager, regional production manager.
Were you working on the evening in question?
I was.
As it relates to this report? Okay. And how did you first become aware of the alleged incident?
We all have radios, and I heard on the radio call that there was a patron being brought up to the lobby, and she was showing signs of being under the influence. So I proceeded to go to the lobby.
And when you got to the lobby, was anybody with this person besides
Yes.
security?
She was brought up by security, and she was accompanied by a female friend.
What, if anything, did you observe about the demeanor of the subject female here?
She seemed to be under the influence, but she was responsive. So we just proceeded to talk to her to get some information out of her.
So did you yourself directly communicate with the female?
I did, yes.
And what can you tell us what some of your communications were, what your discussions were?
Initial thing we asked was if she wants medical assistant. That's always the first question after assessing if she could be. She's in a state of communication, and she refused. And after that, her friend kind of took over the conversation, suggested that they have an Uber on the way and they do not want a medical. And at that point in time, we provided her some water, brought a bucket in case she needed to throw up, that sort of thing, and just stay with her for a little bit to make sure she was okay.
And what were your observations of the friend? Was she showing signs of being under the influence as well?
From what I can recall, friend seemed very coherent, not under the influence by any means. She was very responsive, very alert.
At any point in time, during your communications with the friend or the individual subject female, did anyone mention that they thought her drink was spiked at some point in the evening?
No, nothing like that.
At any point in time, was the female ever left alone?
No.
How many times has medical assistance, if you recall, how many times has medical assistance offered to the individual and or her friend on behalf of the individual?
At least 3 by me personally. You can add some from the security manager as well.
At what point, if at all, was a wheelchair utilized regarding this incident?
The wheelchair is stationed right next to the left of the elevator in the lobby. It was, I think, was used by convenience, not by an offer. She just came out of the elevator, and in the lobby, it's the only seat available. So I think therefore she proceeded to seat there rather than us wheelchairing or offering.
So it wasn't necessarily utilized because she was incapacitated.
No.
Was consistent with the police report, was the individual wheeled out of the establishment? And if so, how did that come about?
That is correct. She was wheeled out. At that moment in time, our security supervisor and our doorman was at the door with her. The Uber pulled up in front of the W Hotel's entrance, which is about 30 to 40 feet to the right of our entrance. And the guest in question and her friend asked that if they could assist them to bring her to the Uber so she doesn't have to walk. And they just complied and helped her by wheeling her out.
Did the Uber driver allow the individuals inside the vehicle?
From what I know, yes.
And to confirm again, your staff escorted the individual safely to the Uber with her friend?
Yes, that is correct.
And to confirm again, medical attention was repeatedly offered?
Yes.
And repeatedly refused by both the female and her friend?
That is accurate.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may call Charlie Kane as well to testify. Charlie, please state your name for the record.
Good morning. Charles Kane, Kane, Director of Security for Big Night Entertainment Group.
And how long have you been employed with Big Night Entertainment Group?
I've been employed with them for 8 years as of this week.
Regarding the subject incident, how did you first learn of this?
I first learned of it on the 28th of May via a phone call from Detective Hernandez. That they had received a report from Watertown PD relative to a drink spiking incident at Basement, and some allegations that we did not render any assistance to the female individual. So once I gathered that information, myself and my administrative assistant in charge of compliance and legal, Jillian Hardy, immediately began a video review, and I spoke to Bora as the GM that night.
And what, if any, materials did Boston Police request from you regarding this incident?
On the 29th, a couple days later, a day later, I sent the review to Detective Hernandez relative to the drink review and video review, and that all the drinks that the female in question had consumed were very well visible on video, and there was no evidence of any drink spiking. I also advised them relative to the investigation that we did not assist her. We had assisted her and her friend the entire incident, from downstairs to the lobby, and then from the lobby into the Uber as they left.
And just to confirm, the inquiry from BPD and the subsequent providing of materials and information to BPD was prior to the issuance of the license premises violation, correct?
Yes, the license premise violation was issued on 6/7/25, and also on June 2nd from a request from Detective Sergeant Gallagher. They wanted the video and timeline sent to them, and I provided that via an email on June 2nd to them. And then the LPV was issued on June 7th.
Thank you. Generally speaking, can you tell us when a wheelchair is offered or utilized at the licensed premises or any of Big Night's licensed premises?
We have a wheelchair at every one of our venues. They utilize for safety reasons if someone's showing signs of intoxication, so they do not suffer a fall or any type of injury. So it's a safe way in the industry to assist somebody from one point to another.
If a patron requires a wheelchair, what is the internal policy on calling 911?
We call 911. If we ask and they want it, but most of the time we're immediately calling if we feel they cannot make a conscious and reasonable decision on their own. We do not hesitate per our policy, which is on page 17 of our security training manual, which is, I believe, on file with the board. If not, I can provide it.
And from what you learned in your internal investigation from your general manager, in this instance, the staff did not feel that she was so incoherent as to not be able to adequately refuse medical care?
Yes, based on the video review and speaking to Bora and Security Supervisor Marcus, and reviewing the video, I felt that from their training experience, they used reasonable standard that the girl was coherent enough, and her friend that was with her was fine, and they were escorted right to an Uber, which in my experience in the past 8 years, Ubers will not take people that are incapacitated or not coherent. And the Uber did take them on the video without incident. And I would also like to note, when I got the water tower report also, there is a line in there that the female patron felt they left the establishment and she could take her home and take care of her. There was no problem. But shortly thereafter, she got worse, and that's when she called 911 in Watertown.
To your knowledge, did staff or you receive any other reports of possible drink spiking that evening?
No, we did not.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, as you heard from Detective Hernandez, upon receipt of inquiry from Watertown PD, BPD further investigated this matter, and as part of their investigation, they reached out to Head of Security Charlie Kane to inquire about the evening, to which, as you heard, the licensee did their review and voluntarily provided all information available to them, and sent it over to BPD for their own independent review. As you heard, no evidence of drink tampering was discovered in this instance, which was the original basis for the report and call from Watertown PD to BPD. But as to the failure to call 911, as you heard from testimony, several staff members, including the general manager that testified here today, directly communicated with the subject female in this instance. While medical was repeatedly offered, it was also repeatedly refused by both the subject female and her friend that was with her. Based on the staff years of experience in the industry, the female was able to communicate coherently and insisted that she depart the premises with her friend. Ultimately, a judgment call was made in live time that someone was coherent enough to make their own decision. Had they not been, 911 certainly would have been called. I'd also submit that the board is quite familiar with this particular operator and their venues across the city. Their record of all establishments reflect that they err on the side of calling 911 always, to the point they've had patrons get upset and have called them and demanded that they pay their ambulance bills that they don't think were warranted for calls on particular evenings. Here, staff did render assistance and did what they were supposed to do under the circumstances. The female and her friend left safely under the care and escort of staff and did ultimately return safely home, as evidenced by the Watertown Police report. Of note, and as well for the board's consideration, as Mr. Kane noted in his experience with the company, Ubers usually reject people who are heavily intoxicated, and Uber was willing without hesitation, as we heard, to take the females home to Watertown. This operator certainly understands the importance of calling 911 and doesn't hesitate to do so. In this instance, again, they made a live time judgment call that they, frankly, the female and her friend would likely be gone before emergency crews even arrived, and also didn't feel that the situation necessitated an emergency visit, given their strong refusal of medical assistance. That being said, we're happy to answer any questions the board might have related to this incident.
Thank you for that. We will see if there are any questions from the board at this time. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
I have no questions, just a request to forward to the board the staff manual that was referenced in Mr. Kane's testimony.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no questions. Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there are no questions, the board will take this under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the final two items on this morning's hearing, the board will take a brief recess. It is now 11:43. We will reconvene at 11:50. So we'll pause the recording and see you then. Thank you all. Moving on to the final two items on this morning's agenda, calling item number 6. Facility Concession Services, Inc., doing business as The Stage at Suffolk Downs, located at 525 William McLennan Highway in East Boston. Date of the incident, June 20th, 2025. Public drinking in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good almost afternoon again, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Green, Kristen Scanlon for the licensee. With us this morning is Julia Chapuris, who is the GM for this temporary licensee, and Hal Gould, who is, I believe, SVP of Ops is the correct title, as needed for any testimony.
Thank you very much. I see Ms. Chapuris. Mr. Gould, if you are planning on testifying, we'll need you to come on camera so that we can swear you in. If not, then not worry about that. Oh, great, I do see you now. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am
Pickett in Boston Police.
Detective Eddie Hernandez.
Officer Hernandez.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? And Mr. Gould, you as well, if you'll be providing testimony. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the report into the record?
I can read our report, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to read from a report authored by Sergeant Detective Gallagher on 6/20/2025 at about 8 p.m. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the licensed premise unit were contacted by Captain Dean Bickerton that while working the concert at Suffolk Downs, he had encountered patrons drinking from open cans of alcohol in the public parking lot at Suffolk Downs. The patrons were ID'd by BPD. The alcohol was disposed of, and Suffolk Downs concert management were notified. As a result of these observations, Sergeant Detective Gallagher spoke to Stage at Suffolk Downs manager, Miss Julia Chapuris, who said she was aware of the occurrence and will be speaking with security. Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 020-842 to Stage at Suffolk Downs for patrons public drinking. Miss Julia Chapuris signed for an accepted number. That's all for my report.
Thank you very much. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Please, just a few a few questions for Detective Hernandez. Detective Hernandez, to your knowledge, the alcohol consumed by the patrons in the parking lot was not alcohol served from the venue, correct?
I cannot speak to that, ma'am. I was not there.
Okay. Can I ask Captain Bickerton some questions if you have personal knowledge as to what was relayed to Detective Hernandez and Gallagher?
Yes, absolutely. What I observed was people had set up like a almost like tailgating. So they brought alcohol onto the site and they were drinking from those alcoholic beverages. There was a couple of different people that was set up that I addressed.
Okay, so it was personal beverages brought in, and just to be clear, it wasn't a situation of alcohol brought outside from that was served at the venue.
That is correct.
And while you approach these individuals, there were no issues with the two males' compliance with your orders to, I'm presuming, dispose of the alcohol, correct, or stop tailgating?
No, there wasn't. I identified them, asked them for their ID, and had them dispose of the alcohol and explain to them that's not allowed on the property.
And was a citation issued to the two males for public drinking?
No, I did not.
Okay. And for Captain Bickerton and Detective Hernandez, during your investigation regarding this matter, were stage staff cooperative with you at all times?
Yes, I called Julia Chaporro. She came out, met me in the lot, and we discussed it.
Julie's always been very cooperative and very helpful.
Yes, very.
Thank you both for that. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, and as we've discussed with the board on previous occasions regarding this particular temporarily licensed premises, HYM Real Estate Company contracts with Laz Parking to control and operate the parking lot, which is adjacent to the concert premises. Laz and its security company runs the lot. Neither Facility Concession Services nor Bowery have any authority or control over the operations of the lot. Furthermore, and I think important to note as well, they have no financial participation in the lot whatsoever. They really wouldn't have necessarily any reason to know about what goes on in the lot unless Laz cooperatively lets them know, or in this instance, BPD or BPD detail that's paid on site, both directly within the boundaries of the temporary licensed premises as well as the immediate vicinity for purposes of public safety that are utilized for every event. That being said, the temporary licensees in this instance, both for the entertainment and the alcohol, are in touch with Laz directly and as needed, but didn't otherwise know of this two-person tailgating situation until it was brought to the manager's attention by Captain Bickerton. Following this particular incident, the licensee did bring this to HYM and Laz's attention, and signs were posted in the parking lot as well as on big light up boards that tailgating isn't allowed during concerts. Additionally, when folks purchase concert tickets for this venue online, the licensee does post no tailgating in their rules regarding attending the concerts at the site. But worth noting as well, they don't even sell, they being Facility Concession Services or Bowery, sell any tickets for the parking lot. There is a link for Laz Parking, which leads a concert goer on the website directly to Laz's site, which any business conducted thereafter is 100% transacted from Laz's site. Ultimately, there is a clear delineation of the premises as it relates to the temporary and one-day licenses for the stage in Suffolk Downs. And while we're in communication, we don't necessarily have any oversight, authority, or control over what's going on in the parking lot, but do, to the extent feasible and practical, try to dissuade people from this type of behavior when they're attending concerts later on at the site. With that said, we are all here to answer any questions the board might have regarding this particular incident.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to the board to see if there are any questions, beginning with Chairwoman Joyce.
Does HYM or Laz Parking check cars when they enter the parking area to see if there's alcohol or any tailgating stuff?
We have no information or knowledge of that at this point. We can certainly inquire if they check cars.
So that's my issue. I think we've talked about this before. I know it's two separate entities, but you guys are working together, and Captain Bickerton and I have talked about this before, there has to be a shared interest in how they operate. So I would have loved to have had Laz on here today so they could have talked us through that. I mean, if they're partnering with you, and your guests are parking in their parking lots, I would really hope that the licensee would have more knowledge about how Laz operates, because if Captain Bickerton doesn't want tailgating, then we want an operator who's not going to permit tailgating and would have some sort of rules in place, like check cars, monitors throughout the parking area. So all of my questions really can't be answered today, and we don't have the people on the hearing that I think should be here. But I do think that as a licensee, and I think we've talked about this before in person, we've talked about it on the phone, that you do have to take a vested interest in how your parking operator is operating because of neighborhood complaints, because of the stress on Captain Bickerton's team. And here we are again talking about things that may not be your responsibility, but I do believe they should be your responsibility, or in part.
I don't think they definitely take a vested interest in operating cooperatively and collaboratively to the extent that they can with Laz. That being said, I don't know that Laz can legally search the cars coming into their premises, but I know that they have monitors. Julia might have a better idea, an estimate of how many they have on site per show, and security companies that patrol the parking lot. So we have emphasized to them in conversations with HYM leadership and Laz that is the expectation, not only of Suffolk Downs and the operators there for this temporary seasonal venue, but also the expectation of the city and the captain as well.
Julia, do you have any knowledge?
I don't have the numbers on the number of the Laz staff that are in the lot. I do not believe they check cars. I do know that they hire in 2 security guards to roam per lot that we have on the premises, including the staff lot.
Okay, that's helpful. I might follow up with more questions after the hearings. I think the information I'm looking for isn't in your possession. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Is this not a parking lot provided to your patrons under our rule 1.09E?
Is it not a parking lot? What do you mean? Sorry, I don't know that I understand your question. And I don't know that rule right off the top of my head. I'd have to just be able to pull it up and read it, or if you could let me know so I can understand the context of your question.
It cites any parking lot provided by the licensee.
It's not provided by the licensee.
All right, so that's what I'm asking. How is it not provided to your patrons by the licensee?
It can be used by them, but it's not provided by them because they don't control or have any authority to control or operate the premises. It's like any public parking suggested at Gillette or Fenway or the Esplanade, saying here's good places to park, but it doesn't mean necessarily Gillette or Fenway or the Esplanade controls where these people are parking.
I mean, it's not like a separate provider. I mean, is this a parking lot
provider?
It's on a separate piece of property?
As it relates to the licensed premises, the temporary licensed premises of Facility Concession Services in Bowery, yes, but it's on the Suffolk Downs site.
But that's one property.
Right, but it's not under control of the licensee.
Okay, because the licensee is not in control of the property.
Correct. They don't own the property. They don't own that parking lot. They don't have control. There's a boundary within the property that they rent and utilize.
I don't feel that disclaims any responsibility on your part under our rules. I mean, we have rules about adjacent areas to the licensed premises as well. It's on the same property. Your patrons are using it for parking. It's owned by the same entity overall, right?
The Suffolk Downs giant site, yes.
Okay, I just don't know how you can disclaim any responsibility over this because Laz is doing the management of the parking.
I guess there's a clearly delineated boundary where they are permitted and required, for liability purposes and licensing purposes, to control people coming in and out of the premises. There isn't a deal with.
Our rules address parking, and they address adjacent areas of the premises. So like you're saying,
provided by the licensee. The parking is not provided by the licensee.
I don't say whether it's provided or not, right? Which I would argue is debatable. We have the adjacency rules. So, we expect our licensees to control adjacent areas, whether or not they've been provided, whether or not they even own them. So what I'm saying is, I'm saying for my own purposes, I would have an expectation in this circumstance that the licensee would take an active role in controlling this parking area.
To the extent
under our
that
rules.
they do to dissuade people from tailgating behavior.
Do they have an
But
employee?
they cannot outright
Do they have an
control it
employee?
and send people patrolling the parking lot, because that's the agreement that's with HYM.
Attorney Scanlon. The amount of control that any license is always in debate. Question is, what efforts is the licensee making? Okay, not just disclaiming we have no control, right? It's the same thing when licensees go out on a public street and ask people to move along. Those people often tell them, you can't control me. I'm a free person. This is a free country. All we ask of the licensees is they try. Okay. What I'm not hearing here is that an employee of the licensee takes any active efforts to go through this parking lot and make attempts to tell people they're not allowed to drink in public in this parking lot.
That's
I'm not asking for
And
people to. Yeah.
If there's an expectation of the board that people from the licensed premises do that on premises that they don't control, I think there needs to be a broader discussion on where that boundary line ceases to exist at every other venue where this sort of behavior happens and seems to be accepted. I mean, in this instance, the behavior which we're saying is an illegality there was no citation issued to the people that were performing the illegality. So they do take this seriously. They do what they can, again, to dissuade it. We can have further discussions with HYM and LAS on whether we're permitted as the licensee and in conjunction with them to further patrol the area if that's what's expected. And we're happy to further roundtable that. But I venture to guess all companies and interested parties are going to have, their own takes and would love to come to a better compromise and clear expectation on what they legally can do for the company's own particular liabilities.
All right, Attorney Scanlon, I agree, but as this is coming out today, my questions are based on the almost complete disclaiming of any ability to do anything here, and I don't agree with that. So if there has to be more discussion about what should be done in the future, that's fine. But my expectation is the same as any expectation, which is definitely with regard to parking lot, we have a jurisdictional hook there. I don't think it is as clear as we don't own it, so we're not providing it. I don't agree with that. But at the very least, we have our rules about controlling adjacent areas, this is more than adjacent, it's the same property. So with that all said, I had to step in, and I don't agree with the interpretation that you guys have no active role in this because it's operated by labs. So I think that's all I have. Thank you.
I have nothing to add to that. I tend to agree, and I was thinking the same thing about the control that we ask licensees to have of the general public areas, of common areas. And I think that applies here. So I would agree.
I do want to just jump back in because I have had the ability to have conversations with this group like throughout the year leading up to the concert series. And I know that we asked you to put up signs in the neighborhood, to email the people that are attending your events about what the proper behavior and etiquette is. So I do appreciate those things that you've already done thus far. What I'm asking is, what else can we do to work with HYM and last parking? I think you've done a lot so far, but I think what we want to see is more as far as a vested interest in what's going on in the parking lots leading up to the shows. And so I just wanted to add that to the record, that I do know you do put up signs. I think there might have even been talk digital billboards and notice to ticket holders, but I do think there has to be some sort of roundtable with all the groups so that people who are parking there for your events are behaving the way we want them to behave. Otherwise, if there is no event there, there's not going to be any parking there either. So everyone has a vested interest in it.
And we're happy to continue and explore that, just so everyone's on the same page there, including the people who own and operate the lots, so that they're part of the discussion as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the board on this matter? Thank you. The board will take this under advisement and will call into the record item number 7, which concerns the same temporary licensee, Facility Concession Services, Inc., the stage of Suffolk Downs, 525 William McClellan Highway in East Boston. Date of this incident, October 3rd, 2025. Patrons, public drinking in the parking lot, and failure to maintain the line in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Attorney Scanlon, same witnesses again?
Yes.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Captain Bickerton.
Dr. Hernandez again.
Officer Hernandez.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals of first-hand knowledge of this incident who wish to testify? You've all been previously sworn in. Who will be reading the report into the record for the board?
I'll read it in, sir.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. You may please proceed.
Good afternoon. Once again, I'm reading from a report that Sergeant Detective Gallagher authored on 10/3/2025 at about 9:45 p.m. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, assigned to the licensed premise unit, responded to the stage at Suffolk Downs to meet with Captain Bickerton. The stage at Suffolk Downs was hosting the Fisher concert. On arrival, Sergeant Detective Gallagher met with Captain Bickerton and Miss Julia Chaporos, who is the manager for the stage at Suffolk Downs. Sergeant Detective Gallagher was informed of 2 issues that related to public safety. First, Sergeant Detective Gallagher was informed that there was open public drinking by patrons using the public lot in front of the facility. Many of these patrons also appeared to be young. Second, during the course of the admission, there was a surge of patrons attempting to get in. The surge created a panic where some patrons were boxed in and crushed. Concert staff and BPD quickly stepped in to alleviate some of the pressure at the gate by moving patrons back and creating distance. There was no reported injuries. As a result of these issues, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 027368 to the stage at Suffolk Downs for patrons public drinking in parking lot, failure to maintain the line. Ms. Julia Chapora signed for an acceptable notice. That's all for the report.
Thank you. And once again, Attorney Scanlon, if you would like to address the alleged incident.
A few questions, Detective, if I may. Again, might be better for Captain if you had more personal knowledge after or before Detective wrote the report. So let's
Yes,
switch
I
to
do.
Captain. Okay. Captain, to your knowledge, you're not making an allegation in the report or related to this incident that outside alcohol was coming into the venue or alcohol from the premises was being consumed out in the public lot, correct?
So there were 2 issues. There was drinking in the lot and in the line right at security. We have body-worn camera of all the alcohol that was left littered on the lawn right at the security entrance point.
Okay, and the alcohol in question here was presumably brought by patrons attending the concert and not served by the venue and patrons leaving the venue with it.
That would be my assumption just based on its location. Where the surge was, there was nip bottles, bottles of booze, there was beer cans. Again, we recorded it all on Officer Hernandez body-worn camera.
And
So that was outside alcohol, like I said, believed to have been in the line right at security.
okay. Were any of the patrons allegedly publicly drinking on this particular evening cited for public drinking? Open container?
I didn't have enough officers to stop anybody. This crush was probably a few thousand people. We had to physically, the Boston police had to physically remove barriers, steel barriers, to lessen that compression of the surge of people. So we didn't have to engage in public drinking.
So on the allegation of public drinking, you're saying the public drinking and the surge was happening all at the same time?
Yeah, so patrons began running back to the front of the house before security, saying that people were getting crushed and somebody had been urinated on, which drew our attention. We came down from the furthest gate and met with Julia, and I directed my officers to begin removing steel barriers. I then directed security to begin peeling people off at the back and create a barrier line so that we could lessen the crush.
Some of those details that you just cited aren't in the report, so.
Yeah, I didn't write the report.
Okay, but you relayed the information to the detective to write the report?
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, I did, yes.
Okay. It is indicated in the report that there was a surge of patrons attempting to get in, and as you just described.
We have that on body-worn camera also, yes.
And it's in the report that concert staff, along with BPD detail, quickly stepped in to alleviate the pressure at the gate, correct?
I don't know how quickly I'd say. I had to direct them a few times so that they needed to come back and assist my officers with separating that line and moving people back. I think there was a disconnect between security that was inside the venue and where I needed them to come out and begin doing that separation of the line and pulling people back so that way we could lessen that crush.
Okay, I just want to be clear, though, that this isn't my categorization of that. It's the report that actually says concert staff and BPD quickly stepped in to alleviate some of the pressure at the gate by moving patrons back and creating distance.
Yeah, I had to continuously ask, I need more security staff back here. As a matter of fact, I had to call station units to come down and give a hand.
But that's not in the report anywhere.
That's on the 911 call sheet. I had to request a code 9 to have officers come down and assist.
Okay,
there was actually 5 incidents related to this. There were about 6 911 calls related to this, 3 of which originated on Waldemar Ave for groups of people causing disturbances. There was a lot that went with this.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I don't have any information pertaining to any of these calls that you're citing, so I can't speak to that. I'm only talking about the report that we have in front of us right now.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I'm here to testify.
Okay. Confirming there were no injuries as a result of the surge at the gate, correct? As indicated in the report?
That is correct.
And were staff cooperative with you at all times?
Very cooperative.
To this incident. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Julia
Scott.
does a great job working with us.
Thanks. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, as an initial matter, and as I believe the police report indicates, yes, this event was held on Friday, October 3rd, and the performer was an artist known as Fisher. For a general time frame, 5:30 p.m. were when doors and gates officially opened. 6:30 p.m. was the show. For openers, 8:30 p.m. was when the scheduled headliner Fisher was to go on, and with an ultimate 10:30 p.m. curfew for the site. The total in attendance, there was a final scan of tickets at 6,763 people, which is under the GA max of 8,500 people for this particular site. On-site staff numbers, and I can email this to you as well for the record, because it is quite a list of different staffs and their roles for that site, but they had 57 folks working security for door staff, which includes ID checking, ticket scanners, supervisors. In addition to security, they had 20 people 24 bar staff, 5 site managers, 15 site operations and custodial folks, 3 artist relations and runners staff, 2 sound monitor engineers. We did have 10, I believe, BPD detail, including Captain Bickerton, 8 EMTs, 3 BFD detail, and 2 Revere Fire Department detail, plus stage techs, labor, food vendors, and the like. To the first allegation of patrons public drinking in the HYM and Laz lot, I think for sake of conversation, but happy to talk about this further. Initially, we'd like to incorporate by reference all the statements of defense made in today's earlier hearing regarding authority and control over that lot and what the licensee in this instance nevertheless endeavors to do to dissuade this behavior. But also saying, again, we're happy to continue that discussion with all parties involved so that, we can better this area as it relates to concerts held at the venue and address this so that it really is not a continuing problem at the site or in the neighborhood. To the second allegation of failure to maintain the line, this particular issue started prior to the headliner going on, but Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, right around the time of the headliner going on. This particular show was the licensee's first 18+ show. This particular artist attracts a younger demographic as it's, dance house music. With this show, everyone showed up at once, which is a bit abnormal for everyone to show up at the same time. Most of the time for their shows, there's quite a bit of a steady flow of concert goers at the gate and not one mass of people trying to get in all at once. This show, the combination of being a Friday and an early curfew type of show, they unfortunately were presented, as the captain did indicate too in his testimony, that they were presented with a full backup. So people started compressing up towards the entrance. Some of the patrons were pushing, obviously, causing the compression issue. But I don't know that that anyone was being crushed, as there's no injuries reported. So there's a little bit of a contest or contention regarding the use of that word in the report. I don't think it rose to such an extreme level that it was void of all control. It's my understanding, and Julia certainly can elaborate on this, that security was holding the line. As the police report at least indicates that, again, there are no injuries, and staff and BPD quickly stepped in to alleviate the surge at the gate. BPD, of course, was incredibly helpful at the worst of the matter, and everybody worked together cooperatively to get people in safely. There were no reported issues that evening once the line issue was resolved. Part of the issue at the gate was that the headliner was about to go on, or was on, when people were in line, and they were getting frustrated, of course, that they couldn't get in. Because it was the first 18+ show, I had a lot of people at the gate checking IDs, and they were running into several issues with fake IDs and people without appropriate IDs. Several fake IDs, for instance, were pulled at the gate, which was part of the problem and slowing down what could have been or would have been an otherwise steady flow of people through the gates to proceed in and enjoy the show. Given the 18+ factor, it again slowed the gates when they were verifying age for everyone, not just people who were drinking. They haven't done a ton of shows out there. It's a learning curve a bit still, which we've continued to talk about the last couple of years with the board. They learned that with this show on a Friday night, coupled with an early curfew, despite having all 7 gates opened, the licensee did talk about for shows like this, and if they did host an 18+ show again, in talking to the booking agent as well after this event, who even flagged it on his side as a miss, that they should have recommended that they increase the number of gates available for entry, because apparently the booking agent has seen this type of behavior from the crowd. They are of the opinion but the venue itself, obviously they have knowledge of the performer, but they thought 7 gates, which was all 7 that they don't utilize for every show, would have adequately addressed that. But with having to check IDs and taking that seriously and confiscating it and making sure the right people were in the show, that were allowed to be in the show, it was just slowing things down and causing the problem. Going forward, this is certainly one item flagged depending on the nature of the show. Again, like the 18+ event or the artist. Additionally, they did have conversations after the fact to prevent this from happening, where they can hold people at the entrance before they go into the main area. There's a dog park area near the entrance. It keeps people from leaving the parking lot and advancing immediately into the site. It's where they hold the line before they open the gates in the first place. It's a place where they have control to hold the line easily as well, and to kind of set up almost checkpoints and barriers to slow the ingress down. Create a space to break the line, to take the pressure off so that it's not one big line going down the entire path, especially on shows that attract similar younger crowds, where they would also increase their staffing numbers. That being said, certainly happy to further discuss this, and we can answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Attorney Scanlon. We will see if there are questions following that. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
No questions, just a comment. I do appreciate the cooperation throughout the year. When this incident happened, I think we talked right away. I just want to be supportive of Captain Bickerton and all his efforts there. And I also want to be responsive to the neighbors and the complaints we get at times, and you have been. So I just want to continue to work on these things. I think everyone can do a better job here so that people are safe and feel like the neighbors can live peacefully in this area while you're trying to run a concert venue. But I do think there's more work that needs to be done. And that's it.
Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I'm not trying to pile on, just a thought that the activities that were in the parking lot might help with the crush situation. If these people were moved out of the parking lot more consistently, there wouldn't be that crush. They're all waiting until the last moment in the parking lot partying, and then when it's time, they go. But if they weren't allowed to stay in the parking lot, they would be moving through consistently. So that might help. But thank you for your efforts. And yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Noted, and I think that can be passed on easily to HYM and LAS to discuss efforts to do that.
Nothing to add. Thank you. No questions.
Thank you all. If there are no further questions from the board, then the board will take this under advisement as well. Oh, Captain Bickerton, do you want to say something? I see you unmuted.
I do. I just have one more concern, and I know we've talked about this in the past. The calls from Waldemere Ave, they included people urinating in neighbors' lawns and people parking on Waldemere Ave and cutting through people's yards to get to the venue. I know we've talked about additional signage, but people shouldn't be parking and then walking through personal property. That was some of the complaints that came into the station and through our 911 call system. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that is helpful context, though it is not the subject of this morning's hearing, and could potentially be good fodder for a follow-up conversation with the folks identified earlier. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Those are all the items before the board this morning that will adjourn this hearing. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.